it just there aren't that many good actors in South Korea.
1950년 6.25 전쟁이 발발하자 전 세계에서는 한반도의 자유를 지키기 위해 달려와 싸웠습니다. 미국, 영국, 캐나다 등 16개 국가의 유엔군은 전투 지원을 했고 6개국에서 의료 지원을 했습니다. 미국은 참전국 중 가장 많은 숫자인 약 180만 명을 파견했습니다. 이 중 3만 4천여 명이 전사했고 3,700여 명은 실종됐습니다. 이름도 들어본 적 없는 나라에 사랑하는 가족을 보내고 생사조차 확인하지 못한 가족들은 마지막 인사도 나누지 못한 채 영원한 이별을 해야 했습니다. 당시 징집된 젊은 병사들은 대개 18에서 21세였습니다. 올해 89세가 된 패핑 씨는 한국전쟁 당시 해병대 1사단 소속이었습니다. 그는 18세 때 한국으로 와 최대 혈전이 벌어진 장진호 전투에서 싸웠습니다.
You may have seen these pictures before. American fighting men pushed to their limits and beyond.
We took turns sleeping in the daytime. It was too cold at night.
But unless you were there, you have no idea.
Survival is probably the strongest of our instincts, and we all just did what we had to do to survive.
Now 90, Warren Weedhan was a young Marine at Chosin Reservoir in North Korea in the brutal winter of 1950.
People can't imagine the 40, 50 below zero. Everything froze. Vehicles froze, rifles froze, people froze. If you got wounded, you couldn't walk, you froze to death.
장진호 전투는 미국과 중국의 군대가 맞붙어 싸운 최초의 전투였습니다. 미국 해병대 창설 이후 유독 치열했으며 성공적으로 철수한 사례로 꼽히는 힘든 전투였습니다. 핀 씨의 동료 중 장진호 전투에서 살아 돌아온 동료는 몇 명이 되지 않습니다. 그는 이 전투가 정말 추웠고 끊임없이 피로했으며 끔찍하게 무서웠다고 회상합니다. 전투 중에도 왜 이 머나먼 한국까지 와서 싸워야 하는가라는 고민이 계속됐습니다. 살아 돌아왔지만 동료의 가족들을 대할 때는 그들을 묻고 나만 살아왔다는 죄책감을 끊임없이 느껴야 했습니다. 그렇게 70년 가까이 전쟁의 짐을 내려놓지 못했습니다. 끔찍했던 순간을 잊으려고 노력하면서 시간을 보냈습니다. 그가 비로소 짐을 내려놓게 된 것은 한국을 방문했던 2018년이었습니다. 한국에 도착한 순간 믿을 수 없을 만큼 발전해 있는 대한민국의 모습에는 그를 70년간 괴롭혀왔던 가난과 폐허, 전쟁의 상처는 그 어디에도 없었습니다. 눈부시게 변해 있는 자유 대한민국을 둘러보며 전장에서 끊임없이 괴로워하던 질문에 답을 찾았습니다. 동료들의 희생도 헛되지 않았다는 것을 깨달았습니다. 이게 내가 싸운 결과였구나라는 확신을 그때 갖게 됐다고 말했습니다. 미국 세인트폴 한국전 참전용사 동상 중에는 가운데가 뚫린 조형물이 있습니다. 그것은 아직도 돌아오지 못한 군인을 나타내는 것이며 여전히 채워져야 함을 뜻합니다. 국가보훈처는 코로나 이전까지 생존한 참전용사와 유가족을 한국으로 초청하는 사업을 매년 진행했습니다. 돌아오지 못했고 그래서 잊혀져야만 했던 참전용사 유가족들이 한국을 방문했을 때의 영상입니다.
Korea, a crowded little finger of land extending out of Asia's mainland. A nation not much larger than our state of Minnesota.
On June 30th, 1950, 5 years after World War II ended, America went to war again. U.S. ground troops were sent to Korea, where forces from the communist North, aided by the Soviet Union and then China, were threatening the pro-Western government in the South. The 3-year conflict, overshadowed by the Second World War, is often called the Forgotten War. And these are its forgotten victims, the families of nearly 8,000 men still classified as missing in action.
MIA is a very difficult term to live with, not knowing.
It's hard to put closure when you don't know.
Felt like an orphan was an orphan. They called us war orphans.
John Zimmerle's father, an Air Force captain, disappeared while flying a night mission in 1952.
He wasn't known to be killed in action. He wasn't known to have died in a prison camp. He's just missing.
A fate shared by many men, lost in areas difficult to access, some inside North Korea. In May, the siblings, spouses, and children of 24 U.S. service members who never returned from the battlefield were invited as guests of the South Korean government to visit the country where their loved ones were last seen. For most, it was the first time they'd ever come here. And to introduce Korea to the families who sacrificed so much, showing off its music, its dances, even its fashion. Families paid for half of the flight. Everything else was picked up by the South Korean government.
It's overwhelming.
Suzanne Schilling's dad, a Marine pilot whose plane was shot down over North Korea in 1952, was honored as a hero.
We all thought it was a tour of Korea. We'd see battlefields, we would see memorials. Had no idea that they were going to celebrate us at the level that they did.
Memorial services were held at the National Cemetery, at a military base, and near the demilitarized zone that divides North and South. At the War Museum, families found the names of their loved ones inscribed on a wall. Robert Morin's father disappeared during a reconnaissance mission behind enemy lines.
I've never seen him memorialized or commemorated or anything of that nature in the United States. And to come all the way to Korea and see his name on the wall was a shock, a surprise, and something I was not emotionally prepared for at the time.
Morin was also not prepared to see South Korea's appreciation for America's role in a war fought more than 60 years ago.
The authenticity of their gratitude is astonishing. I mean, they could not possibly fake what we're experiencing from people here. It just, there aren't that many good actors in South Korea.
Stop the shooting.
When the armistice was signed in July 1953, South Korea lay in ruins. People were starving. Millions were dead. But within 60 years, and with the help of foreign aid money, South Korea transformed itself into the world's 14th largest economy and 6th largest exporter, in part due to the popularity of Korean brands, including Samsung and LG, Kia and Hyundai. Economists refer to it as the miracle on the Han River, a miracle that South Koreans insist in part resulted from the American sacrifices that earned them their freedom from communism. This trip was a celebration of that sacrifice for what John Zimmerly calls war orphans.
I'm here with other war orphans, and all of a sudden we all have that camaraderie. We've seen it, all the pictures just kind of arose in one line behind me. It was like all the guys were here, all the guys that were missing had come back. It's the most it's the most emotional I've gotten about this whole issue. And I have had emotional moments over the past, but all of a sudden it made sense.
Finally finding a sense of closure, more than 60 years later.
미국에서는 여전히 한국 전쟁이 잊혀진 전쟁일 뿐입니다. 참전 용사와 가족들은 입을 모아 한국 전쟁에서 우리는 기억되고 싶다고 말합니다. 이들을 초청하는 것은 대한민국을 지키기 위해 희생한 이들에게 감사와 경의를 표현하기 위해서였습니다. 코로나로 인해 한국 방문은 멈춰 있지만 우리나라는 위기에 처한 한국을 목숨 바쳐 도와준 사람들을 잊지 않도록 더 많은 분이 위로받도록 하기 위해 편지와 마스크를 전달하고 있습니다. 그들은 한국 사람들이 참전 용사의 희생에 진심으로 고마워해서 감동했다고 전합니다. 여러분의 소중한 의견을 남겨주세요. 바쁘시더라도 구독과 좋아요 부탁드립니다. 지금까지 단골이시였습니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.